Josh and I are going to be in Baltimore visiting some friends and going to a Renaissance fair, but we're here a little early and we decided to stop by Washington, D.C. Actually, we flew into Washington, D.C. because it was cheaper and easier to do so, and then we rented a car and we're going to drive up to Baltimore after we're done running around a little bit. While we're here, we're going to check a few things out. We're going to start with the Smithsonian Institute, National Museum of American History. They have a lot of like TV history stuff here too that I want to look at, and that is plus just other American history stuff, and we're kind of like history nerds, so we're gonna go in here and check this out. Here's the building itself, and it's not too far from the Washington Monument, which you can see just right over there. Once we're done here, we'll probably go wandering over there. Entrance to the museum is free. Any of the Smithsonian's are free. Well, there are some exceptions, so look it up before you go, but most of the museums you do not have to pay to go into. So let's go check this out. We had thought about doing a bike tour today, and then we saw that the temperature is going to be nearly 100 and humid, and thought that maybe that wasn't such a great idea. So instead, we decided to do an indoor activity where the air conditioning will keep us nice and cool. One of the exhibits they have here is the Star-Spangled Banner, the flag that inspired the national anthem. So you can come in here, you can't video in it, but we just went through it, and there essentially is the giant flag that Francis Scott Key saw when there was a battle going on that inspired him to write the Star-Spangled Banner, which then became our national anthem. Here we are in the Hall of American Culture, and let me show you some things that actually caught my attention here. A Kermit the Frog from the 1970s and Miss Piggy from 2016. C-3PO and R2-D2 costumes from Return of the Jedi. Silk suit worn by Lin-Manuel Miranda in Hamilton, 2015. A shield used in Captain America Winter Soldier, 2013. The suit Ellen DeGeneres wore when she received the Presidential Medal of Freedom. The dress Constance Wu wore in Crazy Rich Asians. Love that movie. Check it out if you haven't. The suit Halle Berry wore in X-Men Days of Future Past, 2014. Signpost from the set of MASH, 1982. A dress worn by Gloria Estefan in the 1987 music video Rhythm Is Gonna Get You, as well as a conga drum that her husband would use. An egg from Aliens, 1986. The dress that Cyndi Lauper wore on her famous album, She's So Unusual. The chairs that the bunkers would sit in All in the Family from 71 to 79. Musketeer hat worn by original cast member Lonnie Burr from around the 1950s. Original Cookie Monster, Grover before he was blue. An outfit that one of the characters wore, in this case Susan Robinson on Sesame Street. And a more recent, if you call 1993, a more recent edition of Muppets, the first Spanish-speaking Muppet. The Red Angel costume from Star Trek Discovery. Right next to it is the outfit that Philippa Georgiou wore as the Empress of the Mirror Universe. That was played by Michelle Yeoh. Costume worn by Lucy Lawless as Xena, Warrior Princess. Right next to an outfit worn by Felicia Day for the music video for The Guild. It was called Do You Want to Date My Avatar? It's a pretty funny video, go look for it. The outfit Phyllis Diller wore when she did the USO tour in Vietnam in 1966. Prince's yellow cloud guitar. One thing about Prince, he was not a very big man, so he had to have these custom guitars made to fit his size, essentially. A prop genie bottle from I Dream of Jeannie from 1965 to 1970. Next stop is the American Presidency exhibit, which is also connected to the First Ladies exhibit. Let's go see what catches our fancy here. Outfits worn by some of our First Ladies. This is a dress and an evening gown that was worn by Grace Coolidge. This was worn by Mamie Eisenhower. This is Lucy Webb Hayes. Edith Wilson, Julia Grant. This is Frances Cleveland. And then right next to it is Jackie Kennedy. These two were worn by Lou Hoover. There's a day dress and an evening gown. Nancy Reagan's suit. Carolyn Scott Harrison's dress. She was the wife of William Henry Harrison, who I don't think was president for very long because he died. And then Eleanor Roosevelt's gown is back there. And those ones up there were also worn by Cleveland, just different bodices. These were all outfits and coats worn by Jill Biden during the inaugural celebration. Jeez, usually I have trouble saying that word. This is more recent history, one that we probably all remember, 2021. They have a wall that depicts pretty much every single first lady that we've ever had. And it goes all the way around to the most recent one, Jill Biden. One of the responsibilities of the first ladies is to choose the White House china that they use for their time in the White House. And we'll just kind of walk through here quickly. Feel free to pause and look at any particular one. Excuse me. I'm trying to get the names of the first ladies in there too, so you can see them. I'm not sure all of them are here, but maybe some of the more notable ones. We're up to 1921. Here's Roosevelt, Eisenhower, Lady Bird Johnson, Reagan, Clinton, Bush, ending on Obama. The President of the United States traditionally has 7 different roles, and they're laid out here. The Chief Executive, Party Leader, Manager of the Economy, National Leader, then we come over here, Chief Diplomat, Ceremonial Head of State, and then Commander-in-Chief. And so they took some polls over here about what people thought about which of the 7 presidential roles is the most important. Ceremonial Head of State is the 7th, Party Leader, Chief Diplomat, Chief Executive, Manager of the Economy, Commander-in-Chief, and the first one is essentially National Leader, right? They set the tone. In case you've never really looked at it before, the seal of the President of the United States looks like this. In one of the talons, there is the olive branch of peace. In the other, there's arrows of war, showing that America is ready for both states, as we need to be. There are 13 arrows to represent the 13 original colonies. Of course, there's the red, white, and blue there, which is the colors of our flag. It's an eagle, which is the official bird, and then E Pluribus Unum, which is our motto. From many one, essentially a nation built from many people from across the world. They have a podium here where you can choose one of the speeches by one of the presidents, FDR, JFK, or Ronald Reagan. Particular ones like only thing to have to fear is fear itself, ask not what your country do for you, and Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. So particular ones, not just random ones. And then it will show you up there, and you can see me filming. This is preeminently the time to speak the truth, the whole truth, frankly and boldly. This great nation will endure as it has endured, will revive and will prosper. So first of all, let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. I never think about this because none of them have happened in my lifetime, but there used to be weddings at the White House, typically the children of the president. But the last one we had was one of the Nixon kids in '71, I think, which predates me by a year. Both Josh and I found this humorous. There's a booth over here for impeachment, but it's under redesign because history happens. So it lists all of them: Andrew Johnson, Richard Nixon, that's very famous. Clinton, I lived through that one, I remember it very well. And then of course, both of Donald Trump's impeachments when he was president. This is an area showing actual protest signs that people used because in America, we protest if we don't like something. Here's some particular buttons. And here's a little bit of information about all of those. They also have an exhibit about assassinations and mourning, essentially presidents who have died in office. There's more than you might think just by thinking about it, like William Henry Harrison, who's the first to die in office, and others like Zachary Taylor. But the ones we typically remember are the more famous ones because of assassination, right? Because you have Abraham Lincoln, you have JFK. Those are the ones that people traditionally think of when it comes to presidents dying in office. But often presidents are old men, and they're not always the healthiest, or they put themselves in a situation where they might contract something, and they die. And so there's a whole section about it, and a little video from the History Channel playing over there. Often presidents are commemorated with streets in their names, typically in their hometown, wherever they're from. I live in Colorado. We don't have any presidents from Colorado. We might have had Gary Hart, but this was back in the days where having an affair, or even seemingly having an affair, was enough to stop you from being president. Things have really changed since then. As a disclaimer, that last opinion is just an opinion, not political commentary. It's just, I think everyone would agree that clearly there's a different attitude towards that now when you look at our more recent politics in the United States. You're probably aware of this, but there have been many TV shows and movies that have the presidency in them, and this is just kind of a list of them that they have here of movie posters and TV posters. So you have like the man, I actually don't remember this one at all, but that looks interesting. I have to look it up. Nixon, played by Anthony Hopkins. Veep. I did start watching that. I need to get back to it. John Adams. The Butler. Daniel Day-Lewis playing Lincoln, American President. This is one of my favorite movies ever. Not just favorite romantic comedies, but favorite movies ever. If you have not watched this movie, go watch it. Wilson in Technicolor. Air Force One. Not quite a presidential movie, but still a lot of fun. And then Kisses for My President. And Madam Secretary. I love this show. I'm so sad that it ended. I mean, many years ago it ended, but I didn't get into it when it first started. I got into it sort of about halfway through, and I loved that show. This chair was located near Washington's bed, George Washington. He sat in it not long before he died, but it says the upholstery is not original, and it's that Ship of Theseus question, right? Like if you have the Ship of Theseus and over time every piece of it is replaced due to repair, is it really still the Ship of Theseus? And I feel that same way about this kind of stuff. Like, is it really still that same chair if enough of it has been changed, like the entire upholstery? Yeah, the frame is the same, but if you change all the upholstery, is it the same chair? Yes, no. It's a thought experiment. You decide for yourself. Okay, this part is going to be slightly political, but not really. These are all ways that, in the past, Americans have tried to get out the vote. And the political part of this is go to vote. I don't care who you vote for, go vote. People fought and died for the privilege of being able to vote. Do not treat it lightly. Go make sure you're registered and go vote for whoever you think is best. Oh, by the way, here's the floor that we were on, and you can see where we were. This was the entertainment section that had all of the different pieces. There's a hall of music we haven't gone to yet. There's like a bandstand or something over there, but there's nothing going on right now. The presidency and the first ladies is where we just were, and that's the third floor. And then the second floor, and then the first floor. So if you ever come here, you can decide what you want to do, and it's completely free. On the first floor, they have the Hall of Invention and Innovation. And one of the things they have is the Spark Lab, which is just, an area where you can go and do hands-on stuff. I think it's mostly towards kids, but anybody can come in, inventors of all ages. But if you're under 12, you have to have an adult. But I think it's cool to see some kind of hands-on stuff for the kids, right? Some sort of fun stuff. Museums can be kind of boring for kids. I felt that way when I was a kid, so I say that without malice. But this would make it a lot more palatable if you were a kid and wanted to come and play around with stuff and still learn. Edutainment. This is the Gallery of Numismatics, which is essentially money. I like how it's in a bank vault. That's a pretty cool touch. I'm a nerd when it comes to money over the years and how it's been used. Check out my video where we went to the British Museum and looked at a money exhibit. I loved it so much. But these are just different coins, and essentially it's called the value of money. I think this exhibit is called. An old $500 bill. $100,000 bill. I mean, you don't really see those in circulation, but they technically exist. They're mostly for like large trades with other countries, that kind of thing, which don't really happen that way anymore with actual bills. In a bit of more recent history, I don't know if you remember this, but there was a time in 2016 the Obama administration was going to replace Andrew Jackson with Harriet Tubman, and then when Trump took over, they decided to delay this change, and of course it never happened. But in response to that, some people made these kinds of stamps, and then they would just stamp over the $20 bills, and these would be in circulation. I also appreciate the fact that they moved into the digital age and talked about the different credit cards that you could start getting, where you didn't have physical money anymore. You had essentially something that represented your money. Now we're in the age of digital transactions and Bitcoin. I don't know what it is about money that has always drawn my attention. I think it's because it's one of those things that you use probably on a daily basis, but not much thought goes into how it's made, what it looks like, not the artistry. Nowadays, of course, things like counterfeiting techniques, because as technology gets better and better, now you can print stuff at home, right? You couldn't do that, 80 years ago, even 40 or 50 years ago. You had like dot matrix printers. You couldn't print something like that, but now somebody could maybe print money if they had the right kind of paper, and it's just this big deal. And so there's so much effort that goes into anti-counterfeiting as well as the design. It's just incredible, and we use it every day, and we probably don't put a lot of thought into it, but money is pretty incredible on its own because of what we do with it, but just the invention of it and the artistry of it and the technology of it has gotten better and better and better, and it's just interesting to think about when you stop and actually think about it. That is going to do it from the National Museum of American History. We didn't hit everything in there, so if you come, I showed you the map, you can see all the different things that are there. And we didn't do everything, just the things that interested us. But now it's time to go because we need to drive to Baltimore, and it's going to be like 2-hour drive because it's rush hour. We knew that it would be. This is not usual. Hey, look, there's a Washington Monument behind me there. It's so cool. It's very hot here and humid, but not too bad if you're in the shade. I just wouldn't recommend it today. We might be back later this week. But we're not sure yet, and if we do, we're not coming back to this. We're going to do other monuments and stuff. So thanks for joining us on this. It was actually fun to come and see. I knew that there was a TV and movies thing, but I didn't know exactly where it was, so we did a little research before we came and found out that it was just part of it was a small exhibit that was part of a larger museum, and it was a lot of fun to see. So if you get a chance to come here, I think you should go take a look, and it's free.